Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nikhil and this is the chapter 6 part 1 of the Rich Dad Poor Dad series. Let's continue. This is the new chapter. It is lesson 5. It says the rich invent money. Okay. Last night I took a break from writing and watched a TV program on the history of a young man named Alexander Graham Bell. Bell had just patented his telephone and was having growing pains because the demand for his new invention was so strong. Needing a bigger company, he then went to the giant at that time, Western Union, and asked them if they would buy his patent and his tiny company. He wanted $1 lakh for the whole package. The president of Western Union scoffed at him and turned him down, saying the price was ridiculous. The rest is history. A multi-billion-dollar industry emerged and AT&T was born. The evening news came on right after the story of Alexander Graham Bell ended. On the news was a story of another downsizing at a local company. The workers were angry and complained about that the company ownership was unfair. A terminated manager of about 45 years of age had his wife and two babies at the plant and was begging the guards to let him talk to the owners to ask if they would reconsider his termination. He had just bought a house and was afraid of losing it. The camera focused in on his pleading for all the world to see. Needless to say, it held my attention. I have been teaching professionally since 1984. It had been a great experience and rewarding. It is also a disturbing profession, for I have taught thousands of individuals and I see one thing in common in all of us, myself included. We all have tremendous potential and we all are blessed with gifts. Yet, the one thing that holds us all back is some degree of self doubt. It is so much the lack of technical information that holds us back, but more the lack of self confidence. Some are more affected than others. Once we leave school, most of us know that it is not as much a matter of college degrees or good grades that count. In the real world, outside of academics, something more than just grades is required. I have heard it called guts, chutzpah, balls, audacity, bravado, cunning, daring, tenacity, and brilliance. This factor, whatever it is labeled ultimately decide one's future much more than school grades. Inside each of us is one of these brave, brilliant, and daring characters. There is also the flip side of that character. People who could get down to their knees and beg if necessary. After a year in Vietnam as Marine Corps pilot, I intimately got to know both of those characters inside of me. One is not better than the other. Yet, as a teacher, I recognize that it was excessive fear and self doubt that were the greatest detractors of personal genius. It broke my heart to see students know the answers yet lack the courage to act on the answer. Often in the real world, it's not the smart that get ahead, but the bold. I repeat it again. It says, often in the real world, it's not the smart that get ahead, but the bold. In my personal experience, your financial genius requires both technical knowledge as well as courage. If fear is too strong, the genius is suppressed. In my classes, I strongly urge students to learn to take risks, to be bold, to let their genius convert that fear into power and brilliance. It works for some and just terrifies others. I have come to realize that for most people, when it comes to the subject of money, they would rather play it safe. I have held I have had to field questions such as why take risks? Why should I bother developing my financial IQ? Why should I become financially literate? And I answer, just to have more options. There are huge changes up ahead. Just as I started with the story of the young inventor Alexander Graham Bell, in the coming years there will be more people just like him. There will be 100 people like Bill Gates and hugely successful companies like Microsoft created every year all over the world. And there also will be many more bankruptcies, layoffs, and downsizing. So, why bother developing your financial IQ? No one can answer that but you. Yet, I tell you why I myself do it. I do it because it is the most exciting time to be alive. I would rather be welcoming change than dreading change. I would rather be excited about making millions than worrying about not getting a raise. This period we are in now is the most exciting time, unprecedented in our world's history. Generations from now, people will look at this period of time and remark at what an exciting era it must have been. It was the death of the old and the birth of the new. It was full of turmoil and it was exciting. So, why bother developing your financial IQ? Because if you do, you will prosper greatly. And if you don't, this period of time will be a frightening one. It will be a time of watching people move boldly forward while others cling to decaying life rings. Land was wealth 300 years ago, so the person who owned the land owned the wealth. Then it was factories and production, and America rose to dominance. The industrialist own the wealth. Today it is information, and the person who has most timely information owns the wealth. The problem is information flies all around the world at the speed of light. The new wealth cannot be contained by boundaries and borders as land and factories were. The changes will be faster and more dramatic. There will be a dramatic increase in the number of new multimillionaires. There are there also will be those who are left behind. Today, I find so many people struggling, often working harder, simply because they cling to old ideas. They want things to be the way they were. They resist change. I know people who are losing their jobs or their houses and they blame technology or the company or their boss. Sadly, they fail to recognize that they might be the problem. Old ideas are the biggest liability. It is a liability simply because they fail to realize that while that idea or way of doing something was an asset yesterday and yesterday is gone. One afternoon, I was teaching investing using a board game I had invented, Cash Flow, as a teaching tool. A friend had brought someone along to attend the class. This friend of a friend was recently divorced, had been badly burned in the divorce settlement, and was now searching for some answers. Her friend thought the class might help. The game was designed to help people learn how money works. In playing the game, they learn about the interaction of the income statement and the balance sheet. They learn how cash flow works between the two and how the road to wealth is through striving to increase your monthly cash flow from the asset column to the point that it exceeds your monthly expenses. Once you accomplish this, you are able to get out of the rat race and out into the first track. As I have said, some people hate this game, some love it, and others miss the point. This woman missed a valuable opportunity to learn something. In the opening round, she drew a doodad card with the boat on it. At first, she was happy. Oh, I've got a boat. Then, as her friend tried to explain how the numbers worked on her income statement and balance sheet, she got frustrated because she had never liked math. The rest of her table waited while her friend continued explaining the relationship between the income statement, balance sheet, and monthly cash flow. Suddenly, when she realized how numbers work, it dawned on her that her boat was eating her alive. Later on in the game, she was also downsized and had a child. It was a horrible game for her. After the class, her friend came by and told me that she was upset. She had come to the class to learn about investing and did not like the idea that it took so long to play a silly game. Her friend attempted to tell her to look within herself and to see if the game reflected on herself in any way. With that suggestion, the woman demanded her money back. She said that the very idea that the game could be a reflection of her was ridiculous. Her money was promptly refunded and she left. Since 1984, I have made millions simply by doing what school system does not. In school, most teachers lecture. I hated lectures as a student. I was soon bored and my mind would drift. In 1984, I began teaching via games and simulations. I always encouraged students to look at games as reflecting back to what they know and what they needed to learn. Most importantly, a game reflects back on one's behavior. It's an instant feedback system. Instead of a teacher lecturing you, the game is feeding back a personalized lecture, custom made just for you. The friend of the woman who left later called to give me an update. She said her friend was fine and had calmed down. In her cooling off period, she would see some slight relationship between the game and her life. Although she and her husband did not own a boat, they did own everything else imaginable. She was angry after the divorce, both because he had run off with a younger woman and because after 20 years of marriage they had accumulated little in the way of assets. There was virtually nothing for them to split. Their 20 years of married life had been incredible fun, but all they had accumulated was a ton of doodads. She realized that her anger at doing the numbers, the income statement and balance sheet, came from her embarrassment of not understanding them. She had believed that finances were the man's job. She maintained the house and did the entertaining, and he handled the finances. She was now quite certain that in the last 5 years of their marriage he had hidden money from her. She was angry at herself for not being more aware of where the money was going, as well as for not knowing about the other woman. Just like a board game, the world is always providing us with instant feedback. We could learn a lot if we turned in more. One day, not long ago, I complained to my wife that the cleaners must have shrunk my pants. My wife gently smiled and poked me in the stomach to inform me that the pants had not shrunk, something else had expanded me. The game Cash Flow was designed to give every player personal feedback. Its purpose is to give you options. If you draw the boat card and it puts you into debt, the question is now what can you do? How many different financial options can you come up with? That is the purpose of the game, to teach players to think and create new and various financial options. I have watched this game played by more than 1000 people. The people who get out of the rat race in the game are the quickest, are the people who understand numbers and have creative financial minds. They recognize different financial options. People who take the longest are the people who are not familiar with the numbers and often do not understand the power of investing. Rich people often creative and take calculated risks. There have been people playing cash flow who gains lots of money in the game, but they don't know what to do with it. Most of them have not been financially successful in real life either. Everyone else seems to be getting ahead of them, even though they have money, and that is true in real life. There are a lot of people who have a lot of money and do not get ahead financially. Limiting your options is the same as hanging on to the old ideas. I have a friend from high school who now works at three jobs. 20 years ago, he was the richest of all my classmates. When the local plantation closed, the company he worked for went down with the plantation. In his mind, he had but one option, and that was the old option: work hard. The problem was he couldn't find an equivalent job that recognized his seniority in the old company. As a result, he is overqualified for the jobs he currently has. So his salary is lower. He now works three jobs to earn enough to survive. I have watched people playing cash flow complaining that the right opportunity cards are not coming their way. So they sit there. I know people who do that in real life. They wait for the right opportunity. I have watched sorry, I have watched people get the right opportunity card and then not having enough money. Then they try to complain that they would have gotten out of the rat race if they had more money. So they sit there. I know people in real life who do that also. They see all the great deals but they have no money. And have I have people pull a great opportunity card, read it out loud, and have no idea that it is the great opportunity. They have the money, the time is right, they have the card, but they can't see the opportunity staring at them. They fail to see how it fits into the financial plan for escaping the rat race. And I know more people like that than all the others combined. Most people have an opportunity of a lifetime flash right in front of them and they fail to see it. A year later, they find out about it after everyone else got rich. Financial intelligence is simply having more options. If opportunities aren't coming your way, what else can you do to improve your financial position? If an opportunity lands in your lap and the you have no money, actually you have no money and the bank won't talk to you, what else can you do to get the opportunity to work in your favor? If your hunch is wrong and what you have been counting on doesn't happen, how can you turn a lemon into millions? That is financial intelligence. It is not so much what happens, but how much different financial solutions you can think of to turn a lemon into millions. It is how creative you are in solving financial problems. Most people only know one solution: work hard, save, and borrow. So, why would you want to increase your financial intelligence? Because you want to be the kind of person who creates your own luck. You take whatever happens and make it better. Few people realize that luck is created just as money is. And if you want to be the luckier and create money instead of working hard, then your financial intelligence is important. And if you are the kind of person who is waiting for the right things to happen, you might wait for a long time. It's like waiting for all the traffic lights to be green for 5 miles before starting the trip. As young boys, Mike and I were constantly told by my rich dad that money is not real. Rich Dad occasionally reminded us of how close we came to the secret of money. On that first day, we got together and began making money out of plaster of Paris. The poor and middle class work for money, he would say. The rich make money. The more real you think money is, the harder you will work for it. If you can grasp the idea that money is not real, you will grow rich faster. What is it? Was a question Mike and I often come back with. What is money if it is not real? What we agree it is, we all rich dad would say. The single most powerful asset we all have is our mind. If it is trained well, it can create enormous wealth in what seems to be an instant. Wealth so far beyond the dream of kings and queens 300 years ago. An untrained mind can also create extreme poverty that lasts lifetime by teaching it to their families. In the information age, money is increasing exponentially. A few individuals are getting ridiculously rich from nothing, just ideas and agreements. If you ask many people who trade stocks or other investments for a living, they see it done all the time. Often millions can be made instantaneously from nothing. And by nothing, I mean no money was exchanged. It is done via agreement, a hand signal in a trading pit, a blip on a trader screen in Lisbon from the trader screen in Toronto, and back to Lisbon and call to my broker to buy and a moment later to sell. Money did not change hands, agreements did. So why develop a financial genius? Only you can answer that. I can tell you why I have been developing this area of my intelligence. Okay, I will end this part here and I will see you guys in the next chapter, in the next part of this chapter. Thank you for listening.